It's the Smart Driving Cars podcast. We are glad you are tuning in. I'm Fred Fishkin, along with the Faculty Chair of Autonomous Vehicle Engineering at Princeton University, Alan Kornhauser, who's got some company sitting next to him. Hi, Alan, and Michael Sena.
Hey, hi, Fred, and look at what we accomplished. We brought two continents together.
That's right.
We brought Sweden together with America because now Sweden is going to be the 54th state. We're going to have 51st is Canada, 52nd is Greenland, 53rd is Venezuela, and 54th is Sweden.
Yeah.
You don't look happy about that, Michael.
I won't comment on that.
And Michael is a consultant and the co-author with Alan of The Real Case for Driverless Mobility. Great to see you again, Michael.
Wonderful to be here.
We're together.
Nice to be in Princeton.
And Michael, in the January issue of Mobility Industry Insights, the headline is Addressing the Opposition to Driverless Riding. Interesting open with a quote from Atari and Chuck E. Cheese founder Nolan Bushnell, who I've had the pleasure of interviewing. And the quote is, innovation is hard.
It is. It really is.
Yes.
Yes. Now, I've been trying to do it for over 50 years, and guess how much success I've had? Ooh, zero.
Well, Michael goes into some of the historical details that are relevant to the battle here when it comes to driverless mobility.
Well, I think I'll start with the end, with the summary. Why I wrote this. Reading about driverless cars, whether they're Waymo or Zoox or whatever cars are out there trying to present themselves as driverless, most of what is written about them is that they're there to improve safety. And once we have these vehicles, no cars will crash and everybody will live and there will be no deaths and so on. And you would think, well, if that's the case and everyone believes that, then there's absolutely no opposition to driverless vehicles, and there's no reason for us to even think about the possibility that there might be opposition. That's not the case. First of all, no one has presented a clear-cut case for driverless cars being safer than humans. And even if we did present a clear-cut case, airtight case, there would be quite a lot of people who wouldn't believe it. You know, that's just the way society works these days. So I thought I would take the opportunity to present all of the arguments against driverless cars and try to address each one of those issues individually. You know, are they safe? They're safer. Are they more safe? We don't want them because they're going to eliminate so many jobs. We don't want them because they'll never make the kinds of decisions that we want to make. I'm not going to go through all of those issues. I think that the best thing is to read the issue. You can forget all of the first part of the article, which is providing the background, how we make decisions, how people make decisions, why we make decisions, and then just go to each one of the points. At some future date, there will be a decision made by those people who make decisions, governments, that we either will or will not have driverless vehicles. Today, driverless vehicles are only allowed in certain places where, in the United States, where state governments have allowed them to operate. In Europe, almost nowhere. In China, where the government of China has decided that they can operate. But driverless cars are not allowed, they're not legal to be operated in any jurisdiction without having special requirements. So, but at some point, whether it's 5 years or 10 years or 15 years, governments will make the decision. They'll make that decision based on their ethical principles. That's how all decisions are made. We may not want to think about that, but we have a constitution. Most countries have a constitution. In fact, in doing my research, I found that most countries who have a constitution produced it after World War II, and most of them are based on the US Constitution. I recently finished a book by Joe Lepore on the history of the US Constitution, which is definitely worth reading, not only by Americans, but by other people as well, to understand what it is that people are talking about. There's an article in the newspaper today saying 2 states, Illinois and Minnesota, are suing the government because they feel that it's countering the 10th Amendment in the U.S. Constitution. What does that mean? Why is that there? Why would people have any idea of what the 10th Amendment in the U.S. Constitution is, and why 2 states are suing the federal government for that purpose? But the decisions that will be made, there will be or will not be driverless cars allowed on every road everywhere, will be based on how our governments, and in the case of the United States, the federal government and the state governments, determine whether these cars should be allowed. And they'll make that decision based on how they perceive the cars being able to do what they say they should be doing. The other part of the reason for writing this is that if you base all of your decisions, like these decisions, on the ethical values, and you forget the reason why you have transportation, you're going to lose the whole argument at the beginning. We have transportation to get people from where they are to where they want to go. And in most places, particularly in the United States and Europe, those trips are taken by people in cars, and there's a reason for that. And because of that, there are accidents and deaths that occur in many cases greater than in buses, greater in number than in trains, because 80% of the people are taking the trips in cars, not in trains, not in buses, not on bicycles. They're not walking. They're using the car because it provides the transportation that they need, when they need it, how they need it, and according to their budgets, their ability to pay. But there are a great number of people who aren't taking trips, either because they can't afford a car of their own, they can't afford taxis, especially not Ubers or transportation network company cars. And the buses and trains and trams and underground subways don't take them to where they want to go. And if you factor in the possibility that with a driverless vehicle, which takes the major cost of transportation out of the equation, that is the driver, which is 60 to 70% of the cost of providing a ride, you can reach more and more people. So there's a latent demand that can be met. If you factor that into the decisions that our politicians are going to make 5, 10 years, maybe sooner, about whether to allow driverless vehicles, you may have a very different result. So that's why I write primarily. And the things I write, the theme is there. And I take the theme in different ways and different approaches and from different angles. But basically, that's the reason for writing this particular mobility industry insights.
Well, Michael and I have agreed on this concept for some time. If the presentation that I made at the termination of the 6th summit had one big slide that Michael and I put together, which looked at the demand for mobility and assigned it across the ways people then use the supply available to then achieve that mobility, whether it is, he's mentioned, taxis, Lyft, trains, buses, BRTs, whatever, cars, and so on. That is around. That's what people do today that use it. But in the center of that is in a substantial, at least my belief, that there is a substantial amount of latent demand, people that don't go, people that don't use mobility to achieve improvements in their quality of life. Because in some sense, the only reason one travels is to improve their quality of life. Otherwise, they'd stay at home. This is at least, the first thing that I say in my lecture in transportation. This is the supply of demand and supply of transportation really provides the user with improved utility, improved quality of life, because every transportation system, it might provide some value. Sure, yes, we'd like to cruise down Main Street in the summer with our top down, but for most trips, there's negative utility. There's a cost associated with it, whether it be, dollars of currency, dollars of inconvenience, comfort, time, so on. But the reason why people travel is they find that all those costs don't offset the additional value and the quality of life that the person's going to be able to achieve when they get there. So there's a net plus. So everybody that goes someplace then actually improves their quality of life. Otherwise, they wouldn't have gone. They're not stupid. And so now you find some people, the people that don't go, it must mean that the cost associated with them getting to the most favorite place that they would want to go right now is just too darn high. And therefore, I'm going to sit here and do a podcast with Fred. Now, you might, oh my goodness, but I love doing podcasts, Zoomcasts with Fred. So therefore, it'd have to be something really good for me to want to go to. Otherwise, I stay home. But if I can reduce the cost of transportation, the perceived cost of transportation to the individual, now all of a sudden, whoa, I'm going to get a net value out of going there. I'm going. Bam. And so really, as we look at the value of driverless mobility, it has an opportunity to reduce that cost of transportation to individuals. And reduce which cost of transportation? Well, if you got a lot of money, then making it cheaper doesn't really matter, because that's not the thing that you really cared about. Because money, doesn't matter. It's not really a cost. But my goodness, if cost is important to you, because you only have a certain amount of it and you rather eat than go, then you're going to eat and not go. But if you can make the cost a little bit less, or a lot less, then maybe you can eat and go. And now if you can eat and go, that's real value. That is the value. And at least what we've said in the first book and what we continue to preach and so on and so forth is that the real value of driverless cars is to give rides. The people who really need a ride. And those people that really need a ride, the people that really need are people that need a ride that is inexpensive. Because we know that there are expensive ones that can make it really comfortable, really go when I want, really go fast, really consume no time, really make the cost of that transportation perceived to that individual so damn small, such that almost anything that would provide you value if you went to, it's great.
Now, we may have some newer listeners and viewers who may be wondering, why isn't it the safety factor that it would avoid all these crashes and deaths and injuries?
Safety is important. Safety is important. Safety is a necessary condition. If the darn thing's going to be unsafe, then that's a big cost. Then rich people won't go and poor people won't go. You can't make it cheap enough to go if it's unsafe. You can't make it fast enough to go if it's unsafe. You can't make it comfortable enough if it's unsafe. Okay,
but
but you can achieve a point of safety in which it's safe enough. It doesn't have to. Safety doesn't have to be zero.
Yeah,
everything's a risk. Oh my goodness, a meteorite might come through, crashing through the ceiling right now. I'm done.
What I've said is that driverless cars, driverless vehicles, may be safer drivers than some humans some of the time, but not all humans all of the time. The basis of the claims made by those who say that these cars are going to be safer are unsubstantiated, because you're comparing what is happening in a very small area with very few cars to what's happening in a very large area with very many cars. So those people who are promoting the concept of safety are those who are saying, they're what I call, not I call, but who are the utilitarians. They're saying that the better, the more for the better for most people should be good enough for the rest of the people. And that's not a good enough argument. We've got to improve the lives of everyone. And if we extend this, as we've been saying now, if you extend this beyond the argument of safety, of just safety, which isn't substantiated and basically is dependent on everyone believing that humans are not capable of driving cars. And unfortunately, that's not the case. Humans have proven over the course of the last 100 years that they are capable of driving cars, and they are capable of making the kinds of decisions that are necessary. And the fact that today, maybe close to 40,000, a few years ago before COVID, it was 2,000 or 3,000 less. And the reason we have more now is people are not paying attention, and the cars are allowing them to do too many things at one time, along with our telephones. But the number of people who are dying in car accidents compared to the number of miles that are being driven or kilometers being driven in other places in the world is much, much, much lower. So cars are already doing a lot for safety, and we know that they can do much, much more if we just changed a few laws that prohibited the bad people from doing the bad things on our roads. The people who misbehave, as Alan is often uses that term of misbehavior as a reason for most of the accidents that occur. So it's the focus on safety that is in many ways preventing this technology from moving beyond these little tests that are being done here and there. And the focus of the people who are writing about it say, oh, look what Waymo did here. There was an electrical outage in San Francisco, and Waymo couldn't make it through the intersections because all the red lights weren't working. Well, if that's the message that you're sending out to everyone, and you're basing everything on safety, well, it's not going to work. The point is that there are lots of reasons why people can be against them. One of them I've got here: believe that driverless vehicles cannot make ethical decisions. So if you say, well, we'll never be able to make those kinds of ethical, the trolley problem. Over and over again, you've got this whole, the trolley problem. We have to be able to solve the trolley problem if we're going to have driverless vehicles. There's an organization that is dedicated to ensuring that we never have, before it's proven that artificial general intelligence, which would really be required for us to be able to have driverless vehicles everywhere at all times, replacing all humans, but never allow that to happen unless we're absolutely certain that the kill switches can never be overridden. We can't have a situation like in 2001 in HAL, where the robots take over, or many of these situations. So it's not that they can't be safer. It's not that they may not be safer, but it's not the only argument. It's not the only argument against them that they can never be safe. Or it's not the only argument in favor of them, that they will be safer. There are many arguments, and we have to take all of those into account simultaneously, and then be able to make a decision based on our total basis of our ethical values in each one of our countries or regions of the world. We may be first in Sweden, or in they may be first, probably not in Spain, but maybe in Pennsylvania, maybe in I don't know, New York, Massachusetts, or maybe there will be laws that will be passed in the United States that will permit, in concert with the states, will permit driverless vehicles to operate in larger areas than just test areas. But we have to take all of the factors into account, not just focus on safety.
Well, where I go with this thing is with the trolley problem, and it has to have the right ethical value. Well, okay, better than my ethical value. I mean, there's almost no doubt that somebody's going to put an ethical value on these things that's better than my ethical value because, I'm not very ethical. So therefore, these things, it's almost trivial for them to be more ethical than me, but whatever. On the safety piece, the argument is as we've said exhaustively, if it's got to be perfectly safe everywhere, well, nothing is perfect anywhere. So therefore, this isn't going to be perfect everywhere. So therefore, it's never going to happen. And if that's the constraint you're going to make, then darn it, I'm out of this. We're not doing any more podcasts. Forget handy rides. I'm playing golf. The hell with all of you. You can go. You carry the mantle, the flag forward. I'm not going into that battle. And it's not that oh my goodness, I just want it to be unsafe. That's garbage. Okay, every reward has a risk. And please write to me if you have a reward that's no risk. Boy, do I want to buy. All I want's 10% of that sucker. Okay, and I'll be just such a happy camper. Please call me. Oh, I mean, I'll love you dearly. Come on. Okay, the issue is what is the extent of the risk, and certainly there are places where it is riskier than others. If I want to drive my car up the Great Wall, as some car commercials claim that I can do, or if I want to drive my car down some ravine, as the Jeep commercials want me to do, and through some deep water with my snorkel up there to make sure that I can still get air into my engine, sure, yeah, great, okay. But there are a lot of places in the US of A in which it is pretty trivial to be really safe. Okay, not perfectly safe, but really, and certainly I would argue, safe enough for me to take that risk to be able to get the reward, because the AVs have a unique reward that somehow nobody else, with all the transportation technology that we've had out there for the last how many years have humans been on? When was the wheel invented? Have not been able to deliver. Okay, New Jersey Transit in 2023 spent $120 million, given 1.3 million high-quality rides to individuals. I applaud them for giving those high-quality rides, demand responsive rides to individuals through their paratransit service. They are very competent individuals run by an enormously competent leader, doing absolutely the best that they can for New Jerseyans. But given the constraints that are put on them to do that, each of those rides cost an average of $90. It's not because they're stupid. It's not because they didn't work. It's not because they didn't have, Princeton graduates and do and everything. And, some of my own students out there trying to make it happen, because of the ingredients that they had to put into that soup. $90. What AVs provide us is a new ingredient. Maybe, at least we believe it. I believe it. You believe it. You're talking to the believers here. That may allow us to do that, to give that high quality ride essentially as safe, maybe even safer, but not a whole hell of a lot more unsafe. So safety's, I'm taking as sort of equal. Now, somebody may argue, oh, no, I mean, it's so damn, it's a poop show. Okay, if it is, then I'm sorry, then it's, this is a mirage. But if it is, then all of a sudden, we may be able to give that mobility to at least 80 or 90% of those trips that New Jersey Transit gave, or maybe instead of $90 a trip, $100 a trip. Order of magnitude less. That's a big number. When you change things by an order of magnitude, we're not talking about it being an order of magnitude unsafe. We may even be safer. Because we're not going to misbehave. It's not going to drink. It's going to use its turn signals all the time. It's going to be courteous. I've not seen it do a blue screen, so it's not going to freak out. It knows the rules of the road. It's not going to run red lights. It can see 360 all the time. I can't. I mean, I gotta. How long does it take me for me to see 360? My cognitive cycles, at best, 20 times a second. Maybe I used to be at 20 times a second. Maybe at 15 or 10. Where am I? I don't even know where I am.
Yeah, we're back to the safety thing, and I think
therefore this is not more on. This is it's at least it's in the same ballpark, if not better.
Yeah,
but the value proposition that we get out of this darn thing is that we may be able to do it for $9 instead of $90. The differential on this thing is on the affordability. Now, if affordability doesn't matter to you, Fred, because you're so damn rich that you don't care about money, and that's not a big deal for you, and $9 is the same thing as $90, then in fact we've given you nothing with this. Okay?
If only.
Yeah,
okay?
if only. Yeah.
If only. And for some folks it is. Yeah. And if I'm, where Google and Waymo come from in Silicon Valley, at least looking at Silicon Valley from here in New Jersey, everybody's that way in Silicon Valley, aren't they? Or at least they make it seem to us.
Not the Google employees who live in their cars because they can't afford a place to live.
Oh, well, they exist. I did not know they existed.
Yeah, they exist.
Oh,
they're good.
But if you're a person in this latent demand group, which I estimate, and I think, I haven't done the hard research and I haven't done all this stuff, but I'll do my own Alain educated guess on it, is at least 10% of the 1 billion trips that are taking place today. There are at least 100 million trips in the U.S., my number, okay, blame me, that are sitting at home. Why? Because if they wanted to do what they want to do, it's going to cost society $90 to do it. And if it costs society only $9 to do it, or costs them only $9 to do it, or even less than $9, maybe $5, maybe $3, maybe on the margin, $2.
But we're still. I'm not disagreeing with anything Alain has said, but we're still focusing on the utilitarian aspects of this. We're saying that it's better because it's going to allow people to get good rides, there still is opposition, which is why there aren't just one or two opposition reasons. It's going to eliminate jobs. It's going to be easier to steal personal data. It's just a way of eliminating public transportation. I'm addressing each one of these, and I'm trying to put
it is transportation. We're addressing the public sits there in the center. These folks are like they're wacko.
Hang on. Believe that driverless vehicle is just a way of eliminating public transport. So what I wrote: public transport systems in the form of buses, trolleys, and subways have attained the status of endangered species like mountain gorillas and black rhinos. I enjoy taking the narrow gauge steam train from a neighboring town to a small village where there's a dessert smorgasbord, but it takes me 4 times as much time to reach the destination than if I drive my car there. The trip on the train is the end, not the means. This is the reason it is called a museum trip. So what I've said here, as long as public transport options serve the purpose of providing affordable rides to all people who do not have other better transport options, it should be supported financially on ethical grounds. If there are better options, which are more flexible, more responsive, more comfortable, and less expensive, they should be encouraged, even if it means public transport wilts on the vine. So take each one of these issues and try to look at it in the context, the total context. It's not just, we're going to eliminate 40,000 or 50,000 or 100,000 jobs for bus drivers, for taxi drivers. Yes. And you can say, well, is the overall value to society better? Yeah, it might well be better for the overall society, but you still got 100,000 people or maybe even more people, like typists. Remember, there were typists at one time. When I was in my first job in architecture, I was a telephone operator. I sat in a big room with lots of other draftsmen, tables and chairs that give you hemorrhoids. And those jobs, there was a ratio of 1 architect to 3 to 5 drafters. Today, there's one drafter to 8 architects. All of those jobs are history. Are we better off? Well, those people who are drafters, unless they found another job, they aren't better off. But we have to look at that problem and address that problem. It's not going to be, it's safer, so therefore we're going to have all of these driverless cars riding around, because no one will never make that decision, because no one will ever agree that they're going to be safer. You don't have that kind of ability unless you put all the cars out there and see what happens. You're going to have to make this decision based on as much information as you have, and that information has to be much larger than just they may be safer or maybe not safer.
Well,
that's my point.
I want to jump in here because I, of course, agree with everything Michael said. And I don't think any ride on mass transit is going to be taken away. I don't believe it.
Especially
why? Because the ride that is taken on mass transit today happens to serve really well the needs of the individual that wants to go that ride. That ride for that person is in fact extremely inexpensive at the time that that person wants to go, from where that person wants to come from, to where that person wants to go. Beautiful. So to not have that, to have that person not take that, boom, to compete against that, AVs lose because they can't be that cheap. The amount that the mass transit system charged at what, $2.75 on New Jersey Transit, can at best come at the really good time that the bus is coming, come from the really good place that the bus stop is, go to the really good place that the bus stop is going. Can't really improve that. The problem with the bus is where it provides that, given the demand that is out there, 2% of the trips. 2 of the myriad of places that people want to come from, go to, at the time they want to come from, at the time they want to go there. 2%, half are in the New York metropolitan area. So the rest of the country is like, whatever. And so, hey, those trips will still be served well by mass transit. Great, go ahead. But what about the trip that isn't coming from where the bus stop is? That isn't going to the next bus stop? That isn't originating at the time when the bus is going to be there? There are right now 98% of the trips that are that way. And what have they found? They found a better way, a vehicle a way to go from where they are, when they want to go, to where they are at the time they want to go. And if you look at the way those things are priced, well, at what the price is something, the price of New Jersey, $2.75, that's not the cost, that's the price. That sucker costs, I don't know, $10 on a bus. I don't know. I mean, we figured it out for what it is for paratransit because the accounting of New Jersey Transit puts all those costs and we can divide it out and get the number. I don't even know. I mean, I guess I could. And I think if we ask Jerome Luton, he'll tell us like 75%, it's subsidized. I mean, whatever the number is, but it's a bigger number than the $2.75.
Yeah, if you want to know what we 2 years ago when we put this information in the book, all that information is there. The costs versus the price. Yeah, it's much higher.
The cost is much higher. And so, but we're talking about with the AV stuff. We're talking about the AV. This is the cost of it. Now, if the public sector wants to go in and subsidize the $9 or $7 or whatever it is because of the length and the trip, and once they then subsidize it, right now, what does it cost to take a paratransit ride in New Jersey? I think it's $2.75. The cost is $90 on average. Yeah. Okay. Oh, so, the gap between $2.75 and $90, that's a big gap. Okay. Everybody, that comes from somebody.
It comes from taxes.
Oh, yeah. Okay. So I guess I paid for it.
You did.
Okay, great. Whatever. All right. I'm happy to donate and whatever. But out of all that, that New Jersey Transit would like to give rides to everybody. They wouldn't just like to give 4% of the trips in New Jersey. They'd like to give it to 100%. But they can't. Why? Because, holy mackerel, they try to be able to provide the trip for me to go from here to do it, get out of my car and do it. I'm not going to pay the taxes for that. Henry behind me isn't going to pay the taxes behind it. None of us are. But it's not going to happen. So that's why this is valuable. So in fact, it does not destroy mass transit. That can do your thing where you're good. This just looks at all but this is the trips that exist. There's still this 100 million at least in the center. Then all of a sudden, hey, they don't have an alternative. And the bus doesn't do it. Because if the bus did it, they'd be taking it. And now we can go in there and serve them and get the value proposition to society of that. Wow. Every politician should be, we should be up on some sort of pedestal. They should be paying homage to us. We should be praised for what we're trying to do. How much praising have we gotten lately?
It doesn't work that way.
Damn it. Yeah. We're not going to get no praising.
Politicians.
We're not going to get no praising.
If it's a good idea, politicians take it and use it to get elected. That's the way.
You do it then. I don't want
Let me move along, Alan, if I can, because...
No, I don't want to move along because, in fact, this is really fundamental. But yes, let's move along.
And we brought up this is all related because a lot of the trips are are not non-existent. They're trips that weren't taken, and that came up at the Transportation Research Board annual meeting, and you had a great banquet there. And one of the speakers was the U.S. Department of Transportation Assistant Secretary of Research and Technology nominee, um, Seval Oz. I hope I'm pronouncing her name correctly. She had a background at Google, I understand, helping to launch the AV program there, and has been in startups as well. And she's going to be responsible for pressing ahead with rules to break down the regulatory barriers for driverless operations. And she said, in her remarks, that serving the trips that aren't being made today are part of the agenda. People don't have access to affordable mobility options. And of course, that caught your ear.
Well, I guess you know, Fred, that when I found this out this morning, that she made those comments yesterday in her keynote, that my goodness, I mean, my heart went pitter patter. I mean, to me, hey, maybe I guess I have a little dementia, whatever, but I do not recall any senior official at USDOT or even New Jersey DOT or even New Jersey Transit or even anybody, or please somebody correct me and tell me, that has made a statement that part of their objective is to find ways to provide affordable mobility to this latent demand sector, to people who don't currently travel. I mean, this is, I guess, what we've been talking about the whole time here, and what all this, at least Michael and I and so on, have been, I guess, preaching. You might as well call it preaching. That in fact, there are these, they've been called underserved communities. But really, to say the underserved communities having the opportunity to now travel, which, you know, for transportation professionals, this is not a good comment, because, you know, one of the, besides safety, the other thing that they're always worried about is congestion. And my goodness, if we're now going to find ways in which people who don't travel, that means additional volumes on our roads. And so that may be additional congestion. And my goodness, I mean, we've built extra lanes. Why? To solve congestion. It's really tough to build a lane. And so, my goodness, now you're going to put all these folks who never went anywhere out there. We're going to build a lane, and we're going to have to build a lot of extra lanes. Oh my goodness, what's that going to do on the environment? Oh my goodness, the rise in the oceans. Oh my goodness, that can't be a good idea. But it's an idea it can be a good idea. Because guess what? We provide affordable mobility, because affordability, not congestion, is the reason most of these people aren't traveling. Okay? And they might not even wish to travel during the congestion time. They may wish to travel if it was affordable. They'd be happy to travel when there aren't many people using the roads. So in fact, they aren't even going to cause extra congestion. They'll come out there and be basically free to the infrastructure. And if they happen to come out and do this when there is congestion, maybe they won't mind riding with somebody. Because of course, that doesn't diminish the quality of the ride that much. Not as much as the surcharges that Uber and Lyft put on if it happens to be congestion, the gouging that they happen to do to people. So, of course, they haven't been able to go out during when you have surge pricing because they're being gouged. That's important to them because affordability is the reason they're not traveling is not congestion, it's affordability. Therefore, they might not mind riding with me, you, Fred, somebody else. That's not an inconvenience to them. The inconvenience is money. So therefore, guess what? We're going to be able to provide them mobility without adding congestion because they're just going to go in the vehicle that already is out there with people.
I'm sorry, I don't get that argument.
What do you mean you don't get that argument?
One of the things that I said one of the reasons that people put out there for not wanting to have driverless cars is that it's going to cause more congestion because more people are going to ride.
They're idiots.
Let me finish. That more people are going to want to ride because it's going to be cheaper, and it's going to be easier. So more people are going to be riding, and so there's going to be more congestion. And what I said, unlike what you said, it probably will.
No,
yes, it will. No, yes, it will.
No, it won't.
It will because the people who are already served by whatever they're doing, by their own cars, by taxis, by Ubers, by all of them, they'll continue doing what they're doing. We're serving a group of people who are not served right now. If you think about all of the things that cities and transportation organizations have tried to do over the last maybe 30, 40, 50 years, they have not done anything to serve the people who we're trying to serve with driverless vehicles because they're going to be less costly.
Because they're going to be
less costly. There will be less costly for a person who has less money to be able to take a ride in a driverless vehicle than buying a car or driving in a taxi. We've said that. That's a given, right? That's the reason we're doing this. If you have these facilities for people to be able to take these rides, it probably, at least in the short term, it probably will lead to more people on the road getting to places where they need to get to.
Not true.
Why is it not true?
Because cost is not just dollars. Cost is a perceived content in everybody's brain making rational decisions as to whether or not it is going to, what the value proposition is of going versus the cost of going.
Yeah.
And both value and cost are not just krona, not just euros, not just dollars. They're the quality, they're the discomfort, they're the time, they're all the other things that are associated with that. And so therefore, the reason why somebody takes an Uber when Uber does their surge pricing is because, my goodness, even though they tripled, it costs $40 to go from Princeton Junction to Princeton during reunions.
Yeah.
$40. But these are Princeton graduates. Yeah. They don't care about $40 for a 2-mile ride.
Okay.
No problem.
Okay. Alan, if I can intercede for a second, I think what Michael is saying is that the rides that aren't being taken today will be taken if it's affordable. So there may be more people, at least initially, until there's more ride sharing, who are out there on the roads.
Yeah. It'll be ride sharing.
Yeah, but
there will be some people. They're not only people that aren't right. There'll be some people that currently are out there in their own car, and man, their car is really expensive. And perceived expensive for the value that they're going to get. And they're going to be enticed by this low cost. And they're going to then use this vehicle. But guess what? We're going to put in this vehicle not one person, we're going to put two. And there will be the father who wants to send the child to soccer practice that's going to go to soccer practice and then come home. Instead, they're going to put that child in this vehicle to go get them. And maybe even with the child, they might go with a second child. My argument is that the propensity of ride sharing is faster, therefore actually reducing the congestion on there. And all those that say, oh no, it's going to cause congestion, prove it to me that in fact that's not true. Okay? You're making contention and I claim you're an idiot. Sorry, I mean, I won't say that to them. I mean, we're just having a fun.
But you're saying it to me.
Oh, did I say that to? I went.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
Michael. I went. Oh,
I think Michael's point
shall I
is
read it?
that may very well be true, Alan, but it may take time for all of that to develop.
Exactly.
And guess what? Guess what? In the beginning, in fact, I might be right and you're wrong. And guess what? Congestion will go down in the beginning.
All right.
You have not proven to me that in the congestion goes up in the beginning. I challenge you.
What we have done over the course of the last 50 years, and New York's a very good example of this, New York City.
No, don't use New York because New York City is a unique case, and I just don't. I want to deal with the rest of the nation. I live here in Jersey.
I'm going to talk with Jersey. I'm going to talk about tolls. Tolls.
Who?
Charging people on the roads in order to use the roads, right? So what they say, congestion now has been reduced. The number of vehicles coming into Manhattan, Stockholm, Gothenburg, London, all of those, the number of vehicles has been reduced. What happened in London is a great example. The number of people who are paying the fee is of course it's reduced, but the number of Ubers and number of whatever else Lyfts that have come into London has greatly increased the number of vehicles and has caused more transportation. If we focus the argument against,
it's not true.
Listen to me, Alan.
It's just not.
I'm saying the argument against, people use the argument against driverless vehicles as they will increase the demand for cars and therefore increase congestion. We have to address that. Now, you say that anyone who says that is an idiot. Well, I'm not going to go that far. I'm going to say.
I'm sorry, I'm
going to say.
Having fun here. Okay, I'm sorry. Okay, yeah. No.
My argument is maybe they're right.
They might be,
but
I don't think they are.
Maybe they're right. But the people who are now being able to go onto the roads, who are causing maybe more of congestion, are people who needed to get to where they wanted to go before, but they couldn't get there because of your laws and your regulations and your way of doing things prevented them from having a ride to where they wanted to go. Now they've got equality. Now, you should say what you should say to society. Now let's deal with that problem. If that's the reason why these people couldn't have a ride before, now they've got a ride, maybe we should start thinking about where we put things. Maybe we should be better at planning rather than trying to say, oh no, we have to restrict the number of people on the roads in order to restrict congestion.
I'm retiring. I quit.
He's an engineer. I'm an urban planner.
Quit. Yeah, okay, but guys like him have been arguing this for, hey, if you allow me to tell people where to live and how to live, then sure, I'll put them all in a tire here, all in a tire here. We'll go between two places. We'll build one of these cities that the Saudis have been talking about, a linear city. We'll have a choo-choo. Okay, go do that.
I think the point is,
guess what you get? You get Levitowns out of that.
He doesn't listen.
You get the Levitowns. You get the situations that is here in Princeton. You get to live in a house that used to be on Nassau Street that they moved here, okay, so that we could have a little bit more space. I mean, come on, yeah, well, sure. And if you make me the dictator, I mean, I'll have such great. Fred, you'll be in such good shape. Michael, you'll be in such good shape. Just let me rule.
I guess the point is that either way, whether it's correct or incorrect, that there would be more congestion. What you're doing by
some people can claim that, and I'll argue. I'll debate the other side.
Yeah,
we don't know. We don't know until we know. That's the point. We don't know until we know. But is that any excuse for denying people the right to be able to have mobility? And obviously, It's
It's
Well,
not.
I agree with that one.
It's not.
You know, I agree with that one. I think
and
everybody should have the right. The rich
and
people that have been out there using the roads. But if you look at it, I mean, the reason we got the extra lanes is so that they could go faster. It wasn't to accommodate. And of course, heck, my goodness, you know, you can't use it. I've got it. So yes,
right.
I understand that. We have no. I know Michael.
That's
I
my point.
absolutely agree on that one.
Yeah, that's my
Okay.
point.
I mean, if you, I actually had a student do a senior thesis in which we did we we put in there you had to have chits. We allocated each individual with a right of capacity. That was the Marxist theory of the Marxist Kornhauser theory of that one, that everybody had the capacity was to be uniformly distributed over society, and we created a market in which this would be your asset of capacity. You could either use it or sell it. Okay. And so, and if you wanted it, you had it, but it didn't allow you to go at every time and any time. So if you wanted, if you wanted to go at another time, you had to buy it. And so maybe Michael owned it. So here, Michael, here's that asset. Because I want to go then. Okay, so I have to give you something in return. So what are you going to ask me for? Maybe I'll just give you a little kiss right here.
Don't give me
don't
give me a gummy.
Yeah, yeah,
If we can wrap that up, Alan.
in fact, if this is a public asset
Right.
to society, it should be distributed to the individuals. And if you want this, and if I want that, then I should offer a price to him for it. And then if I bid more than he asks, because he doesn't want it, because he's not going there, holy heck, it doesn't have any value to me, but it has value to him, I should be able to buy it. So we should be able to establish an exchange so that we market the capacity. Okay. But everyone has it. So even a poor person, they have this. That Michael really wants to go this time. Ooh, Michael, you're going to have to pay me a lot. Okay. Ooh, go ahead. Give me the money. No, I get money for that. Okay. And he doesn't care about the money because he prefers this. I care about the money and I don't care about this. This is an opportunity. The same thing exists here. The same thing exists here. In other words, we look at the price of the technology to give the cost of the technology to grab a ride. It's affordable. In peak times, the way that we're going to be able to operate there is because we can't put another vehicle out there. Somebody who wants to hop on that vehicle and go is going to have to ride with somebody, because we're only going to charge them that same amount, and we don't get to put another vehicle out there. And so they better, if the money's the only thing they care about, then they're not going to care about riding with Michael.
Yeah.
And they'll take it. And therefore we'll do this with ride sharing. We're not increasing capacity. Okay? But Uber's out there saying, nobody ride shares.
Well, I think
But I only have one vehicle out here and 3 people want it.
Yeah.
And so therefore, hey, I'm going to put this out there and I'm going to see how high you bid.
to put a ribbon on it, I guess the thing is that it was refreshing to hear that this nominee at the transportation department to head research and technology, Seval Oz, the sister, by the way, of Dr. Oz, who's heading Medicare and Medicaid.
Oh, she
is the sister. Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
She's got some terrific qualifications with Google and startups, et cetera, working in this field.
She is the nominated chief scientist of the U.S. Department of Transportation.
Right.
And I must admit that this morning when I found out that I wasn't able to be at her talk because I had to come back here after the banquet Tuesday night. But when I heard that she made that statement, um, it made me very happy.
Mhm.
And
It said to
that's
me,
the
my
ribbon we wanted to
goodness,
put on it.
my good.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I think this is the central. This is the reason why I'm in this is because the opportunity here is to provide mobility to people who really need a ride, and the people who really need to ride tend to be in this latent demand group that has been so underserved by the systems that we have, and even the new mass transit systems. What do they serve? They're trying to serve rich commuters who want to live out here. I don't even want to go through all that stuff. Okay, you look at the purple line and da da d, and you say to yourself, "My goodness, this is not well." But this is coming from at the top. And so if that is going to be part of the public policy of the national transportation government, then man, I'm all in to help. My goodness, I was thinking after coming, I've been whatever, although we did have a very good meeting with a certain city in at TRB, and I think had nothing but positive vibes associated with it. This is a real alignment of the stars to have this opportunity. And now maybe I'm not reading it right. Maybe I don't know. I didn't have anything to drink this morning for breakfast, did I? Thank you.
No,
I know.
no,
Peter,
coffee.
I had coffee. So,
Yeah.
or maybe my dementia is catching up to me, but whatever.
Well, it does seem like there's a lot to look forward to for this year, especially when, if the DOT is on board with all of this.
I'm all here. I think we, Michael and I, you, Fred, we are all, if that is part of the national DOT agenda on this AVs, I'm all for it. If the agenda is safety, then, I don't know. I want it to be safer. I don't drive anymore. I went from Princeton to DC and back being driven. Okay.
I can verify that.
And he was sitting next, and it did it better than I do it. Okay. I'm personally convinced in my personal decision, in whatever my personal thing is that darn it, now I'm going to sit there and pay attention, and I'm going to sit there and be ready to whatever. And I'm not ready to, be a jerk and jump in the back and sleep when it won't let me. But darn it at night, I mean, it sees better than I can see. And it sees 360. And we've already did the business about how long it takes me to see 360. And it does it, give or take 30 times a second. I can't process things up here 30 times a second.
Right.
And in times when it's not completely crazy out there, now, if it's completely crazy out there, then I'm not going to go. And if there's snow, I'm not going to go. But even if I'm in Buffalo, it only snows an inch or more 28 days a year, I think is the number. Look it up in ChatGPT poop. Okay? What about the other 330 days a year when it doesn't? And so it doesn't have to do it for me all the time. And boy, if it does it, 330 over 365 is a big percent. sorry, 365.25. Oh, I cheated a little bit. Okay, that's a big number. And why shouldn't I take advantage of it? Because as far as I'm concerned, it does it better than I do it. Okay, so I'm a fanboy. Sorry, personal fanboy.
Well, Michael, we want to thank you once again for being with us in person in Princeton.
My pleasure. Yep. Nice day too.
And you can find more about all of the work Michael does at michaellsena.com. Maybe he can tell us how to get that train ride to the dessert smorgasbord.
Come on over. I'll take you. Pay for the desserts too.
Wonderful. Well, you can find us at smartdrivingcar.com. Find my tech reports at techstination.com. Thank you again for watching or listening, and please stay safe.
Thank you, everybody, and have a good week. And we'll put out a Smart Driving Cars e-letter soon with this, and we'll put this out anyway so you can find it. Thanks.